Hey everyone, I'm Jenna,
I'm Clint, and welcome to the Enchanted Parks and Ports podcast,
where we chat Disney, Universal Cruise Lines, and beyond.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, Jenna, to the Enchanted Parks and Ports podcast. This week, we are hitting up our favorite style of episode because it means we have recently been down to Walt Disney World or on a Disney cruise. We are doing a trip report. I've been dominating these of late, but Jenna, you get to do a trip report this time.
I do, and honestly, this was not in our lineup of episode releases because this was not an expected trip. This was an impulsive last-minute adventure that I am excited to chat about because that is not my typical vacation style, although I think I've said that twice this year, so maybe I should reflect on that. But it is something I want to talk about because there is this kind of rhetoric around needing to book as early as possible. And yes, I think there's lots of benefits to that, but I have a lot to say about this impulsive trip. So I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah, and I'm definitely excited to hear about it because you're right. I think one of the things that's most intriguing for me is this isn't your typical style of trip. You typically are planning way in advance. You've got things nailed down. You're hitting the marks at, 60 days and then kind of planning towards and doing all the things. So I'll be really interested to hear about that side of it. But before we get there, we've got a little bit of news and some things that are going on in the Disney ecosystem. So you've got a couple for us. So share away.
Well, two little pieces. One is like a very quiet release, and one is a very loud release. So the very quiet release is that Zootopia Better Together has a new little bonus, what would you say, scene in the beginning with Mayor Winddancer, who's one of my faves from Zootopia 2. So I'm excited to re-see that next time I'm there, but a nice little bonus scene for people who are engaging in that show. And then the very loud release, which is one we've all been waiting for. More details on the Disney Believes. So the newest Wish class ship that's set to set sail in later 2027. We don't have an exact date yet. We don't have exact details about what this ship will involve, but we do have a whole lot of teasers that the internet is unpacking in great detail, and I'm living for it. But we also have a date that we're going to learn more. So the Destiny, they did this in phases, right? It was like a 3-day event and we learned a little bit every day. It sounds like this time we're just getting the Believe. We're getting the overview on October 5th. And if you are lucky enough to be sailing on the Disney Wish, you will be getting some extras, Broadway style performance, reveals, etc. So that is a really new way to do a release for Disney Cruise Line. So I'm excited to dive into it. I have my guesses about the Believe. And so I'm curious to see what percentage I get right, if any.
Now, some of this is being streamed on Disney Plus, correct? Like you can get some information through that as a source. Am I correct on that?
I'm not 100% sure if it's being streamed through Disney Plus. They did say it would be live streamed, so people are going to have the opportunity to watch this as it's being unfolded. I'm not sure the medium yet, so we will circle back on the podcast as that approaches.
Yeah, totally excited about that. It just adds one more ship to the inventory that you and I both have goals of getting on. And so, the list is getting longer, and that's always intriguing. So definitely really interesting to see what they come up with for the theming and kind of the overall package that this ship is going to add to the Disney Cruise Line list of possibilities.
Absolutely. And like there's so many different directions the ship could go, right? Because they name with the theme of believing. There's also elements there, believing in yourself, believing in the power of teamwork. These types of things are part of it. So it could go many directions. We have some parks news too. Besides the Zootopia, we have other Animal Kingdom news.
Yes, unfortunately a little bit. So it sounds like there's been a significant change with Expedition Everest, and the single rider line there. Now, you and I have touted this as a great way to skip the long queue that can form on Everest, and that it's been super efficient. It's probably been, in my opinion, the best single rider line on property for a really long time. However, it sounds like cast member behavior with this ride has changed slightly, probably on direction from Disney, and that is there's a final queue space as you roll into the loading dock that now I guess cast members are sorting people into odd and even groups. So obviously, even groups go on pretty quickly. They just get assigned a row. The interesting thing with the sorting of odd groups is now you get a combination of odd groups that is happening in this space, which turns them into even groups. And so from that standpoint, it's really limiting the need for a single rider line because essentially they're eliminating that on the whole. And one of the other things that has been kind of out there a little bit is that because the single rider now is taking longer, that when it gets to quote unquote capacity, they're actually closing the single rider line periodically to manage that flow. So you could be even walking up thinking you're going to try to roll through the single rider line and it's not there and available.
Right.
So a bit disappointing. I understand why they're doing it. They want to take care of the people who have committed to the wait in line, those kinds of things. It also makes me wonder if this isn't a new prototype style that's going to impact all single rider lines across the parks, right? Are we going to begin to see Disney kind of manage this differently in this final loading phase in order to better serve the main wait queue? I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see as it unfolds, and maybe I'll get a chance to kind of witness or at least get a view of it on our October trip. So more to come. We'll keep you updated as the social media, wheels continue to churn around this.
Awesome. Yeah, it is one of those, like, if it benefits the main wait time, I think I'm pro it because most families who go to Disney want to ride together. Like most people
they
are
do.
not a Clint and Jenna.
No, and I think one of the things that we see is the popularity of single rider lines has gone up quite a bit.
Right.
And it's not truly any more small groups using single rider lines. I mean, we see rather large groups now jumping into these lines who are willing to kind of do the phased entry into the attraction and then willing to wait for each other on the opposite side.
Right.
And so, again, I think these have just become a known and they're getting maybe abused a little bit.
And so Disney's got to respond, right? They got to keep it working. And I actually really appreciate the responsiveness of, okay, if something's no longer working, let's see what we can play with and trial and figure out. Other news is not at this park, but is at a park that I have been wishing had more sit-down dining restaurants that are calling to me. And
yes, and this one's big because I think ever since the concept art for this new land came out, everybody's had question marks. Is this thing going to be there? Is this restaurant going to be there? Because if Disney didn't include it, it was going to be a major miss. Mm-hmm. And we know that they are functioning largely with a landscape that is already predetermined for the greatest part. Yeah. So could they in some way make this happen? And we're talking about Monsters Inc. land over at Hollywood Studios, and we are talking about the infamous Harryhausen's from the movie. All of us, as this launched, were like, it's gotta be there. How can they not put this there? Well, right now, there are shots out on the internet that the chopsticks are going up.
That's pretty big. That's a pretty good clue.
It's pretty big. So, Harryhausen's appears to be coming to Monsters Inc. land in Hollywood Studios. Yes, it is not confirmed, but I think it's hinted at. It will be a sushi style restaurant, maybe that hibachi kind of thing going on. I do believe sit down in nature. So this is going to be fantastic. And I think it will instantly jump to the top of people's lists of must do dining at Hollywood Studios.
And I love the idea of sushi in Florida theme parks because it's light but filling. Like it's what I want to eat in the heat,
For
right?
sure.
The
Amen.
style, the style of a lot of restaurants that are like these big family style, I'm thinking like turkey dinners type of things at a couple places. That's just not what I want to eat in the 92-degree heat, but sushi. Sign me up. That sounds good.
Yeah, this gives you that option to not have to go to a place like 50's Prime Time and do the heavy meal,
Right.
but to grab something on a smaller scale that's still going to give you the power and energy to roll through the rest of your park day. So,
Love it.
we'll be dreaming towards this through 2027 and kind of seeing how it unfolds.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So now we are talking impulsive Disney parks, Walt Disney World, middle of summer trip.
Yes, prompted by Lucas and Abby,
Hmm.
skeptically accepted by Jenna.
Yeah.
So, one of the things right off the top that I'm really curious about is how did the truncated nature of the lead into this trip kind of affect your planning? Like what
Yeah.
was the things, or what were the things that you were like, man, now I've got to start ticking these off in rapid succession.
Right.
It changed your mode. I know maybe you flew different airlines, some of these kinds of things. So kind of what was that pre-trip piece? Because what you had about, I think it was about 10 days to
Yeah.
pull this thing together.
Oh no, it was by the time we actually booked it was 5.
Okay.
So it was very tight. Like very, very tight. Um, and the reason that I kind of said earlier, there are reasons to do this early. There are things that we had to go through that the average maybe also person booking a Disney vacation, it would be a bigger deal because you don't know quite how to pivot in the same way. Or if this is a once in a lifetime trip for someone, yeah, there were certain things we couldn't do that maybe we wanted to. Because when you're within that 5 day, not only have you missed your 60-day dining window, you've missed your 7-day lightning lane window. So you're really tight on some of these things, plus flights, that type of thing. So what I will say is there were some things that I thought would be a bigger deal that really weren't. And then there were
Okay.
some things that objectively were not ideal booking that close out. And if I was the same Jenna booking a couple months ago, even, it would have looked different, right? If I was the same Jenna booking 12 months ago, would have looked really different. One piece being flights. So flights were pricey. We went with a budget airline that we normally don't fly with, out of an airport that we normally don't fly out of. It was fine. Do I prefer to have kind of my home airport? Do I prefer to have kind of the luggage capacity that we have with other airlines, etc.? Yes. But it got us to Disney. So, like, that's fine. You know what I mean? So, there's also this element of, would it have been more ideal? Sure. If we could have scored cheaper flights with the airline we normally fly with. Instead, did we do Frontier and did we make it to Florida and did we have fun with our personal items and one checked bag? We made it work. Yeah. Like it
I
was
was going to say heavily restricted with that part of, and being a family with two young children.
yeah.
Man, I bet you that was a game of Jenga.
It really was. And also, like, Frontier does some stuff where they limit your weight more than the usual airlines as well. So you're used to your 50-pound check bag, they do a 40-pound check bag. That can get you like surprised, right? So it was this element of yeah, trying to manage, trying to think about, okay, what do we actually need? I don't think I could have made this fly for a week-long family vacation, but we were there 4 nights. We could make that fly. We could buy diapers down there. which would have taken a ton of space. We could XYZ. And when you have a lap infant, you do get a full-size diaper bag, which honestly, that one extra bag meant something to my family. So I was happy with that. So yeah, we made it work. Were we low on clothes at the end? Sure were. Like, were we debating having to do the All Stars laundry game? Sure were, but we made it. So 4 nights was all we could do with that luggage capacity, but we made it. So yeah, I would say that's one thing that was impacted was the airline. Another thing that was actually impacted was the way that our room booking had to be done because we couldn't get the offer that we wanted for the full 4 nights. It was only available for 2 of the nights. So we actually had to swing 2 different offers. So we had to have 2 different room bookings. So it's just stuff like that, that had we booked that a year ago, would have had the 4 nights on one offer probably, right? But this time we had to technically do 2 bookings, which does come with the advantage of an extra water park day this summer. So that was fun to learn.
Oh, it would. You're right. I think. And so, but it also affected because once again, Jenna held to her guns on making sure she had dining plan.
Yeah. So it did just because of also the urgency at which we were booking. There could have been ways around this, but we ended up doing the dining plan for just the last 2 days of our stay and not the dining plan for the first 2 days. Normally, you can't divide it out like that, but because it ended up being 2 separate bookings, that's how it went. And I actually thought it was going to be a fun experiment in some ways. Like, how much do we actually spend on the first 2 days versus the last 2 days? What's our value proposition here? And what's the experience like for us, right? Well, shockingly, we all came away with, we love the dining plan. We want the dining plan back. By the time we got it, we were like, woo, okay, that feels like a relief to kind of be calculating how much
Yeah.
to spend on X, Y, and Z. And it just, yeah, it just left some freedom to, yeah, just enjoy kind of the moment a bit more. So yeah, so that was another kind of impact of that. And then the last was just reservations, whether it be dining or parks, or sorry, when I say parks, I mean lightning lanes. But this is where I also will say, yes, your options might look different, but it doesn't mean you're out of luck. We had some of the best dining we've had on this trip that maybe we wouldn't have otherwise tried because we would have gone to certain other places that were booked. And we fell in love with new places. And
Yeah, so this kind of forced you into a mode of not having to run your typical playbook, right?
yeah, totally.
Because your typical playbook was probably unavailable at that
Yes.
point in time. And so it's like, okay, let me look at what is available and make some decisions. So that's fantastic. Opens up opportunity.
Absolutely. And then Lightning Lane was interesting because initially didn't get the best return times that we could swing. We were only doing Lightning Lane for 1 day on our Magic Kingdom day. But with the power of rechecking, modifying, reserving, like we were able to get 9 to 10 a.m., 10 to 11 a.m., 11 to 12 p.m. like line up before we walked into the park. It just took more
Before you walked into the park.
before we walked into the park. So this was just kind of in those 5 days. I was doing a lot more of the refresh, let's see what's available than I usually do. To be perfectly honest, I usually accept what I've gotten.
Yep.
When I get it, because normally with 7 days out and some good strategy, you have a decent lineup, right? Especially those later park days. But this one, we were only doing Lightning Lane for 1 day. It was a Magic Kingdom day. I knew it was going to be stinky hot, so I really wanted to maximize Lightning Lane a little bit more. And so I was doing more of that refreshing, and it certainly paid off. So I wasn't as worried about that as as I maybe thought, oh no, my return times are going to be not ideal. And certainly they can be, but it might just take a bit more work, a bit more mental load to kind of get that going if you book closer to.
It's one of those things that I think sometimes people can feel a little bit defeated, and you've just got to know how to play the game and commit to the time, because that's really what it is you're committing your effort and energy in the span of the recency and saying, I've just got to kind of suffer through this, where booking earlier would have given you just more bandwidth, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things that we'll get into on this, but I thought it was interesting because your most recent trips where you have had your full family along,
Yeah.
right? With Quinn included, were multi-generational trips.
Yes, we love bringing the grandparents.
And there are obvious advantages to that from just a child supervision standpoint.
Yeah.
So this was maybe the first, or if it's not the first, it's definitely one of the most significant trips you and Lucas have done as now a family of 4, right?
Yes.
So I think something like rider swap came into play for you this trip way differently than it has
totally.
in trips in the past.
Absolutely, it did. And rider swap is one that we've dabbled in, if you will, but we haven't really fully relied on because, yeah, we've only been to the parks as a family of 4 with grandma and grandpa who didn't really care to do the big rides that Quinn didn't want to do, right? So we'd pass her off, and Abby doesn't know the option yet of, well, I could go twice if they come and we sign up for rider swap that way again, right? So yeah, we just didn't use it that much. And the time that we went as a family of 4, she was in her character era that day. She was not interested in doing any of the big rides, so it wasn't relevant because Quinn
Yeah.
can meet all the princesses.
So let's remind our listeners, because this is
Yeah.
a topic that I don't think prior to maybe this episode we've dug into a huge amount for families with younger kids. So
Yeah.
can you give just a kind of brief overview? What is Rider Swap? How do they access it? And
Yeah.
why is it meaningful to, families with small children?
Absolutely. So rider swap is meant to be a way that in these scenarios where you have a baby and a 42-inch tall 4-year-old, your family has the opportunity to still ride that ride with that 4-year-old, everyone in your party. But obviously, someone's got to stay with the baby. So, how they set that up is, and we're going to take this scenario, there's different ways to swing it. If Clint was here, maybe we could have added another adult to one of the sides of this, right? But in our family of 4, we had one of us stay with the baby, one of us go with our big kid on the attraction first. The way that you do that, you have to set this up before you step into line of the attraction. So you go to the cast member that's at the entrance. They're always at the entrance or at an umbrella right beside the entrance, but we'll direct you where to go. You chat with them. You say, hey, I'd like to set up rider swap. They'll say, who's going first? And you say, Dad and Big Kid. They say, awesome. Mom, can I have your magic band? And Big Kid, can I have your magic band? Or Key to the World card or whatever it is. And they set it up that way you have a lightning lane to re-access the ride after Dad and Big Kid have rode, then Mom and Big Kid get to ride via the lightning lane.
So initially, Dad and Big Kid go through normal queue. Like
Go
they
through
are
normal
paying
queue.
the price for standing in line.
Yes.
The benefit comes when the second adult, now Mom and Big Kid, want to ride this ride. And now we get to expedite through the lightning lane.
Exactly. They don't have to re-wait in the standard queue. Or if you have lightning lanes, let's say all 3 of you have a Tiana's Bayou Adventure lightning lane, then you still set up rider swap if you want the chance for Mom to get to ride with Big Kid. So Dad and Big Kid get to go first through the lightning lane in this scenario. And then they come back. And because you've set it up, if you didn't set it up, then Big Kid doesn't get to go again. But if you've set it up, then Big Kid gets to go again with Mom through the lightning lane. So that's the advantage too of, even if you have lightning lanes, setting up rider swap. That way you can ride with your kid, because you bet I want to ride with Abby. I don't just want to go alone. I want to see her face, right? And she wants to ride twice. So, once you figure that out.
Well, and that's the huge benefit for the older kid, right? I mean, so this is the situation for, I can get a little more value, especially with the lightning lane side. And I think it's one of those things that people would often say, well, Dad and Big Kid are going to go and just blast through. Then dad and big kid plus baby stay together while mom goes,
Right.
not realizing that there is an option for your child to go again. So I
Yes.
think really in all of this around rider swap, yet knowing it exists, but knowing there's this, I'm going to call it a hack
Yeah.
for lightning lane that allows the older child to ride twice is huge.
And let's nuance a little bit more because there were things I learned about rider swap too. So let's say we were in a scenario where Clint and Terry Ann were coming with us to the parks. And Clint said, I'll hold Quinn. You three go together. We could still do that and still set up rider swap. So then Clint and Terry Ann could ride with Abby afterwards. You can't do that with unlimited grown-ups, but I believe you can do it with two grown-ups. Because we've had grandma and grandpa like allowed to do that.
And something else that you texted that I found interesting, and I just want to double check this,
Yeah.
is the second swap isn't time bound, right? Like the first go
Yeah.
is immediate.
Yes.
But you found something out later where that second swap can be at any point other in the day, and theoretically, based on what we know right now, doesn't have a time-bound end validation period.
Yeah, so I'll explain what happened too. So dad and big kid go through. In this time, I've gotten the baby to sleep in the carrier, so on my body, right? And it occurs to me, oh no, what do I do when it's my turn to go on Tiana's Bayou Adventure or whatever it is? And I have this baby on me. I'm gonna wake them up and burn this nap. So I just asked the cast member, hey, like, is this because I'm looking at it in my app and it says come back after 11:03. And I said, well, it doesn't have an end time. Like, is this okay to ride out this nap? And they said, absolutely, that's totally fine. So it's absolutely okay. Here's the nuance here. It's okay to come back later and to do rider swap later in the day. Nuance being, you cannot set this up with more than one attraction with that premise. So if you already have this like return for test track, you can't then go set up a return for Soarin' and have this like stacked second half of your day. Once you set up one, we actually had this happen where we had a return for test track that we didn't end up using because Abby was like, what the heck was that? I'm not going on that again. So we went to set up a return for Soarin' and they said, hey, you already have a rider swap for test track. So if you do this, it will delete that. And I said, that's totally fine. We weren't planning to use it again. We actually know she likes this one, so we'll ride this one with her. And so I didn't get to do test track this time because I sacrificed it for Soarin' again with her. But that is the nuance of rider swap, right? Does that land? Does that make sense the way I'm explaining?
Yeah,
it?
completely. So it's not going to be a hack where, to your point, you can't like stack experiences with dad in the morning.
Right.
And then say, Dad, now take infant back to said resort,
Right.
and mom and kid are going to go crush the park using a bunch of stacked rider swapped lightning lane. They're not going to let you do that. You could do this one and one as you move through. Makes total sense. But I do love that those options exist for our families who have this split dynamic and age of kid.
Oh, totally. And it also just helps with some of the flow of the day. So something like rope drop, right? If you set up, we were one of the first in line for test track. So if you set up rider swap for that experience, well, it's kind of going to burn your rope drop if you have to then switch the baby over, do it immediately next. It might make more sense in your day to go do the next thing and then come back too, right? So there are times when it makes sense for baby, and it makes sense for just how you have to flow as a family of four through a park differently.
Yeah, completely agree. So with that, let's talk first day highlights.
Yeah,
So the
first day.
arrival day, you've made it to the airport, you've
Yeah.
flown down from Canada, feet are now on the ground at MCO, you're catching the Uber, you're getting to the Disney bubble, which is that moment that we all wait for.
Yes. Oh,
So what
totally.
happened? What are some highlights?
Well, I'll back up for 1 second to say one really fun part of this trip was because it was so impulsive. It wasn't that we needed to hide it for months and months. So we thought, let's pull this off as a surprise. And so we decided to pull it off as a surprise that morning. And we've gone back and forth on how we were going to tell Abby 1 million times. But we just kind of landed with we're gonna say, what should we do today? Let's all choose one thing we could do, and then we'll vote as a family. And so we went around and, Abby suggested Baby Chino, which is a play place in Strathroy that has good coffee. Girl knows what we like to do, right?
Okay.
We made Quinn suggest the park because girl loves a baby swing. So that's what Quinn suggested. Dad suggested we go to a broccoli farm, which Abby was not a big fan of. He then said maybe a broccoli museum. We could just look at pictures of broccoli. Abby
So
thought,
he's just like turning the
oh,
knife a little bit,
yeah,
goading Abby like,
uh-huh.
okay.
And Abs is getting concerned because I was sounding intrigued about the broccoli farm. And she's like, this vote's not going to go well because I know Quinn can't actually vote.
Yep, yep.
So this is not good. And then I suggested Disney World, and Abs was on board with that. But you could tell she was like, we're obviously not doing that.
Yeah, she's like, you guys are pulling my chain. Like
Yeah.
you're just messing with me here.
And so then we said, yeah, let's do Disney World. What do you think, Abs? Well, yeah, like obviously we should do that.
That's always first choice.
And we said, guess what? We're actually doing that. So we let her know that it was not actually an impulsive in the moment decision at that point because we don't want the dynamic of her thinking that that could be every Sunday.
Yep, for sure.
But we told her we're actually doing that. The car's already packed. And she just, the whole time, she kept saying, is this actually for real? Are we actually doing this? And like, we'd show up at the airport and she'd be like, is this actually the airport? Like, she just, like, her little brain couldn't comprehend it.
Well, because it's so different than any other experience she's ever had related to going to the parks.
Right. She's like, this is a multi-month lead up, right? This doesn't compute that we're just doing this, right? But it was super fun. We then, yeah, when we got there the first day, it was really a snacks and pool. And the last couple times I've done trips, we've hit the parks as a arrival day thing. And man, this just highlighted for me how much I prefer to not do that. I really just prefer the land and settle, right? The get some food, have a swim, go to bed at a decent time, even though everything in your body is screaming at you that you're at Disney and maybe we should do something crazy like go see the fireworks from a resort at least or something. Just go to bed. I promise you this is a good plan on your travel.
Well, kind of like we talked about with the recent cruise episode of not overdoing it on embarkation day because there's a lot going on. I mean, you've already got hours and hours of travel under your belt. There's the stress of navigating, catching ride shares and all of this stuff. So you've been elevated for a long period of time that if you push it too deep in the evening, you can really crash the next day.
Yeah. And we had 2 missions the next day, which was we wanted to properly rope drop Magic Kingdom because Abby said she wanted to go on Snow White's Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. That was the first ride she wanted to do.
Which is mind-blowing because it was just your last multi-generational trip where you coaxed her.
Yeah, literally Clint bribed her into going on this ride. Like Clint said, I'll send you money for a stuffy, girlfriend, if you go on this ride. And she accepted that challenge, went on the ride, said, I did not like that.
Yeah, promptly got off and said, no thank you, never again.
Where's my stuffy? And I will note she brought that stuffy with her. And so I do wonder if she was a little like, Rapunzel, we've been through this before. I wonder if it was like cueing her or something. But she was determined that was going to be our first ride. And we have not pulled off, I've pulled off a proper rope drop many times. Never with the baby and Abby.
Sure.
So this is like a nerve-wracking, oh, are we going to actually pull off proper rope drop? Because we got to get up early. We got to get everyone functioning. Everyone's got to be like relatively okay. So we wanted to go to bed early to allow for that and to know Abby's never seen Magic Kingdom fireworks.
Oh, so you wanted also to be able to make it to that end of the day.
Yeah.
Now, did you have a midday break potentially scheduled also?
Oh, yeah. We knew there was going to be a
Okay.
nap, but we knew we were going to need all the sleep power to try to achieve these things. So those were two of our goals for our Magic Kingdom day. And I will say, we did start to pull off a proper rope drop because we were at that bus. We were second in line, second, third in line, like very near the front for the first bus for Magic Kingdom. We were there before 7 a.m. and Clint is flinching because he knows what happened.
I know what comes next. Yes, because I got a text about this that was just like soul sapping.
Yeah, because you know what? Even in the Disney magic, sometimes the universe says no. And this was one of those days because we were thrilled that, we were so far up in line. A double bus shows up, which I don't hate, but when you're third in line, I don't love because I want the advantage of getting there before the people who
Yep.
just rolled in, right? So double bus shows up. I'm like, all right, it is what it is. We all get in. The bus starts moving and then stops moving, just shuts off.
So you didn't even get clear of the resort.
No, we're still at All Star Music. And bus shuts down. And at first it was a little unclear because it was so close to where it was like, is he waiting for something? And then we hear Buddy get on the phone and say, yeah, the bus just shut down, do. And then yells out, yeah, the bus is down. So we're going to have to wait for another bus. And I'm thinking, well, how long can this be? Because like they run buses pretty efficiently in the morning.
Yeah, 10, 15 minutes, maybe. I mean,
Yeah.
it's less than ideal, but you're expecting this is going to get turned pretty quick.
This is going to get figured out. The problem is, again, sometimes the first bus shows up kind of early, but then the scheduled normal other buses, like it can be a bit spaced out if you're really hitting proper rope drop. And that was the case. And then it was just the chaos of unloading the bus, and everyone doesn't stay in their proper place in line for the
Yup.
normal size bus that arrives next. We have a double stroller. We're trying to coax Abby off the bus because girl is like, obviously we're staying here because this is the bus that takes us
Yep.
to the place. So it was just like a little more chaosy than intended. But then Disney started running those buses. 3 arrived at once. We got there. Were we in as advantageous of a position just being 15, 20 minutes later? Just no, we weren't.
No, you were probably 40 people back in line.
Yeah.
Hoping, maybe playing the outside line strategy, hoping to try to kind of move
Yeah.
up.
It was just, well, because they were already letting people into Main Street at that point. So you also just don't know how late you are, right?
Yep.
So we sacrificed our Starbucks, and this is going to sound silly, but we're going to come back to this. We sacrificed our normal Starbucks break, which obviously is terrible rope drop strategy to stop for coffee, but normally we do if we're heading to like knock out all the small rides. But we were headed for Snow White, so no coffee could be had. We carried on to Snow White, and we were back by the entrance to the aerial ride. So it was a hot minute to get going. But I will say, once the line started moving, it was less than 30.
Really? Because when you texted, I was like, man, you're 50 minutes to
Yeah.
the to loading dock from where you described, and it
Yeah.
was only a 30. So, wow, that's actually really good given that challenge.
Yeah, so that is also just something for people to kind of name or know. It does move efficiently even if you're far back. Was that the most efficient use of rope drop? Not really, but Abby wanted this to be first. And I wanted to encourage the bravery. So
Sure, absolutely.
we were doing that. Now, did we stop to do rider swap on this one? No, because the time that would have burnt while people are funneling into the park just didn't make sense to us. So Dad took one for the team, and he had gone with her on Snow White last trip, so I went this time. But I realized maybe he won because he got to sit on Main Street with the baby and have a coffee and breakfast, and I was like, hold on, this is my whole reason for existence is sitting on Main Street. Although the other reason is my kids and my family. So it was fun to see Abby live her best life, right? And just she was saying as she was on this ride, Clint, she's going, "Wee!" Like that's not a scared kid. That's a happy
No,
kid.
that's a kid who is, gotten some courage and some self-determination, and probably just processed some things from the last trip.
Yeah.
And so, all right. So from that standpoint with this, now that Fantasyland and Tomorrowland have gotten the bulk of attention from folks coming to the park.
Yeah.
So what was your move part two that kind of into the rest of your day after Seven Dwarfs? So you pick up
Yeah.
Lucas, you pick up Quinn. What happens next?
So our Lightning Lane lineup after that was all Adventureland and Frontierland. So it actually worked very naturally that was the only attraction we did in Fantasyland. As a contrast, in February, we didn't step into Adventureland or Frontierland. On our day where she just wanted to meet characters, we stayed in Fantasyland and Tomorrowland all day, all Magic Kingdom,
Yeah.
right? This trip, we did this one ride. We headed to the other side of the park and we did Pirates. We did Big Thunder, which she loved. And I loved.
Which again was new. That was
Yeah.
one that even in your previous trip was hinted at. We should try to ride this, especially now with the new. I mean, Abby would have been tall enough irregardless,
Yeah.
but now with the change to a 38-inch height requirement
Yeah.
on this particular ride, she was well eligible.
Absolutely.
And
she loved it. She was not interested in even trying last time. This trip, she loved it. Really hyping up the train element for those like more nervous preschoolers. That sells it. Did she love the bats at the beginning? No, we got a good flinch out of that one. But one other thing that I wouldn't have thought about with this ride until you're a parent is I can properly snuggle her on this ride. Like we're not each in our own separated seat.
Yep.
So I can literally put my arm around her. And the amount of confidence that gave her was awesome. And she was happy and she was like yelling choo choo and like living her best like ecstatic train driving life. So it was really great. And she did rider swap that one, did it with Dad, loved it with Dad. So that was awesome. And yeah, she did a lot of her favorites that day at Magic Kingdom. We did have a fun little midday stop planned that day. So that day we were going to Steakhouse 71 for lunch.
Excellent.
And
great choice.
you've been there for lunch, right?
Oh, I love it. It's a
Yeah.
great spot. Get out of the park, super close, hit the monorail, like it's so easy.
So nice. So we actually walked. We did the walking path.
Okay.
And the reason that we walked on this walking path, and this is a hack for other parents of young ones midday, is on that path, you have 10 minutes for them to fall asleep in the stroller of just relatively boring walking path, right? Like they might see the monorail, but it's not the stimulation they just saw from the path. Both kids fell asleep, and they will let you bring a double stroller into the restaurant if you have sleeping children. So
Wow, that's super cool from Disney.
super cool from Disney. Like the nap is sacred at Disney. I have never once been turned down from a restaurant if I have sleeping children in a stroller. And so we had a date midday. We had like a lovely steak lunch midday at Steakhouse 71, cooled off. It was amazing. And then we went
So
back.
what did you like hit Contempo Cafe or something like that after? Because at some point Abby needed to eat.
We got to feed these children, right? Well, they were still sleeping as we get on well, Abby was still sleeping as we get on the bus. So we actually mobile ordered on the bus mac and cheese from our resort because we were doing a midday break after that.
Yep. Okay.
Quinn did wake up towards the end, and so we did end up getting her a kids meal because she will eat salmon and these types of things. And we had the dining plan too, right? So it was going to be awkward to have like one kid's table service credit if they slept through it. So we were like, okay, I guess we'll give the baby the kids' table service credit and she can have salmon and whatever, which is justifiable for me in a world where kids eat free with the dining plan in
Yep.
2026, right? So, yeah, so she had salmon while we had dessert. And then Abby, mobile ordered on the way back to the resort and picked up her mac and cheese. She had that. She had a little rest in the room, part two, a swim. We kind of reset before the evening.
So one of the things that I will share with listeners, because you're mentioning mobile ordering on the way back to the resort.
Yes.
One of the things that I have noticed with that process is it would feel a little strange to hit the yes, I'm here, prepare my order while you're still on the bus. You may
Yes.
be 8-10 minutes away from All
Yeah.
Stars, right? And we did this several times on our last trip, more of the, snack before bed, late evening kind of variety. But here's the thing, if you don't want to stand there and wait for your food for these really long times, because the resorts are not as quick with the
Yeah.
quick service as they are in the parks.
Yes.
It takes a lot longer for them to prepare your order. So I'm like kind of watching, like if I'm 8 to 10 minutes away from the resort, I'm telling them to start prepping that at that point, full well knowing I'm probably still waiting 2 or 3 minutes once I get there.
Oh, absolutely. I'm doing the same. Same thing if I'm in my room. I want to grab that mobile order on my way to the bus stop. I'm for sure clicking I'm here when I'm in my room. And
Yep.
then I'm hoping it will be ready by the time I make my way up, right? Especially if I'm okay with it having sat there for a minute. Like, does Abby like her mac and cheese searing hot? No. So I'm okay with that if I time it wrong and it sits there for a few, right? So yeah, that's a big one. If you are getting mac and cheese or something like that, also just check on your app. What is it taking? Is it taking a snack credit? Are you charging it? How do you want to play that? Because there's different ways you can do it. So just for the smaller items, I always encourage people to just do a double check on what you're actually ordering and how you're purchasing, right?
Yeah, how it's going to impact your future planning. You don't want to accidentally use something you were counting on for later.
Exactly. Exactly. So that was like super nice to take a midday break. And this is actually something that I realized I really love about summer Disney is how hot the pools are. Which like parents who have to go in the pool, who don't get to just lounge by the pool or like do a quick swim and then lounge. Like I'm actively playing sharks in the pool. Man, having that water warm, like summer Florida warm, actually makes it way more enjoyable for me. So that was a surprising, oh wow, we're like having a lot of fun as a family in the pool when normally it's a little bit like it's your turn to swim, it's your turn to swim, right? That was kind of fun.
Well, and I think a lot of people who might listen to the podcast would be like, but Jenna, you said midday break. I
Oh,
do think that going back and even spending, it doesn't mean that you got to go take a nap, right? You
no.
still can be active, all those kinds of things. But I think what it does is it brings down the overall stress level. I mean, being at the pool is obviously going to be less stressful than navigating double strollers in the
Yes.
parks,
Yeah.
standing in lines, heat, all the stuff, right? You're cooler, your brain's just in a different place. So even though it was a very active thing to do at the resort, you guys were getting refresh time because, again, there's one other goal for this day that you had on tap.
Yeah, we wanted those fireworks and we got the good nap. So we had hope, but we wanted to cool down in the pool. We wanted to have showers, just like really refresh. And honestly, even if you go back to your resort, you spend 10 minutes in the pool and you shower, I promise you it will feel entirely different going back to that park. Like it just will. I promise.
So what time did you guys head back to Magic Kingdom?
Want to say it was around 5.
Okay.
It was a shorter midday break than usual for us because we had gone to a late lunch and because she'd already napped, right? Well, both of them had already napped. So it was a bit of a we're heading back to the resort, but these children have already napped. So I guess we're gonna do the pool and shower thing. But then at that point, like Abby knows what's up at this point. So she's like, when are we going back to the park? Like this is our
Yeah.
Magic Kingdom day. We got stuff to do on my list here, right? So we did head back after that and we asked Abby what she wanted to do when we got back as we're kind of trending toward the evening, right? And she said, I really want to meet the princesses. At least a couple, she said. And she's like, we haven't met any princesses yet today. And so we said, okay, let's go meet the princesses. Well, I check, and princess waits right now are looking like 30 to 45 minutes.
Yep.
Can't grab a lightning lane because that doesn't exist for princess
Doesn't
week.
exist anymore.
So we're bracing ourselves. All right, well, it's 30 minutes in the AC. If she really wants to do it, let's do it. Dad's going to park the stroller, and Abby and I are just hanging out near the entrance, and she gets chatting with the cast member, as Abby does, and is just telling them all about, what she loves about Tiana, and that she's been practicing holding plates like Tiana, but she hasn't practiced on her head yet. Like she's just chatting up about Tiana. Um, by in time, well, dad comes back. Dad comes back, and I said, "Oh, Dad's here. Okay, let's go." And this cast member said, "Hey, can you do something for me?" And Abby goes, "Yeah, sure. What do you like? I'm up for whatever." And he says, "Can you knock on this secret door?" And she was like, "Sign me up for that." So she knocks, and of course, this is the what used to be the Lightning Lane, right? That's now used primarily for VIP tours. And we got to go, we had a little bit of pixie dust and we got to go through the back alley way to meet the princesses. And it was just like such a special, fun note to kick off our we're back at Magic Kingdom for the evening moment.
And probably without that cast member interaction. I mean, so Abby took the time to kind of, I don't want to say build a relationship, but
Yeah,
kind
she
of at
was.
least
Why not?
interact with the cast
Yeah.
member. That's the reason you got the pixie dust. I mean, if you'd have just stood there, no interaction, no nothing like that, Lucas rolls back up, you'd have been stuck in that 30, 45-minute wait. But this way, the cast member has learned something about your kid and goes, let me make your day better.
And then it also is super special because she's holding her Rapunzel stuffy still, and that's who's meeting with Tiana. So she goes in and she sees Rapunzel and she turns around and she goes, "Mommy, Rapunzel's her friend." Because they always say visiting with a
Yeah.
visiting princess, but I often say with a friend. There's a friend there. So she said, "Rapunzel's the friend," and it was just so lovely. So she got her sweet little princess moment, and then yeah, we hit some other attractions. We wanted to do the nighttime parade. We had a Lightning Lane lineup, so we wanted to do the nighttime parade. Got a spot for that. Even in Frontierland, it was a little bit chaosy for that first parade. Like I do have to say, just the vibes, people really they know it's something special and people really want to carve out their space, right? So it's a you gotta prepare thyself, arrive early enough and expect some tricky dynamics as you kind of navigate space with lots of other humans who all want to see the special thing, right? Main Street was at capacity for the parade like an hour before. So that told me it was peoply, right?
Yeah.
Um, we found a spot in Frontierland, kind of near Sleepy Hollow, so we could quickly try and grab a better fireworks spot. Um, and we did. We got a killer fireworks spot. like between kind of the hub grass and the castle. So really,
Okay.
really awesome spot. Um, it's claustrophobic there. Like once you're in one of those spaces, you're not getting out until after the crowd disperses, right? Abby did a great job waiting because it's still quite a wait after the parade for the fireworks. But she saw those fireworks and she absolutely loved it. Tinkerbell flew, which she was not expecting. She was in love with the whole experience. Us as parents said, we will do this one other time when Quinn is 4, and that will be it.
And check, right? Unless I can, I'm gonna put this out there. I can see Abby prioritizing this future forward, where you're not gonna be able to just say, "No, darling, we're not gonna do that."
Oh, yes, we will. I promise you, Clint, because I love Disney fireworks from a distance with a resort vibe with I just the center stage. I do believe you should do it once. I don't believe that I will be doing it many, many times because it's just a lot of people, right?
It is.
And there's better options. So anyway, Lucas, as we were walking away, said fireworks view room, fireworks at a resort, fireworks dining package. That's how we see fireworks. He's like, end of scene.
Yeah, because the hub is a lot for sure.
It's a lot. Yeah.
So you make it through fireworks.
Yeah.
Are you exiting with the rest of the crowd? Like, because that's a typical kind of
Yeah.
toddler family move is we made it to this point. Now we're headed back to the resort.
So I was advocating hard for a Casey's Corner stop. I was like, we need corn dog nuggies. Both the girls are asleep pretty much instantly after fireworks. They're like, and our bodies are done. I was like, let's sit, let's enjoy, let's just let some of the crowd go. Lucas is like, get me out of this park. The fireworks were just his limit, right? And I was trying to explain, I actually feel like it will be a better experience for you if we just chill for a
Yep.
hot second. But sometimes people got to learn things the hard way. And he was like, I am done. This was magical. He loved seeing Abby see the fireworks. But you do hit a point, especially in the summer heat. Like we were sticky. It was hot. And he was like, I need to get back to my room as quickly as possible. And even if I wait in a line and I get back 5 minutes earlier, I need that. And I was like, okay, done.
Yeah, and I'm still going to advise listeners, give yourself that 45 minutes,
Yeah,
right? Pull over to
just ride it
Casey's,
out.
grab your corn dog nuggets or whatever,
Yeah.
a soda, those kinds of things. They got plenty of tables right there. Watch the people stream by. Let a bus or two come because your walk out of Main Street, your wait for the bus,
Yeah.
everything thereafter will be so much more enjoyable.
Oh, totally. But it was, you know what? It was what it was. It was totally fine. The buses do get people out efficiently at night. Like I will say, Disney's got that down. Getting people through, awesome. Also, the monorail was down. So people going to the TTC, the only option presented was the ferry boats. So that
Okay.
backed people up, right? So which wasn't
Yep.
us because we got to go on these buses. So again, it was like a point for the Disney buses in some ways. But yeah, it was good. We got home. We knew we were gonna rope drop Epcot, so that was kind of a winding up for that already too, right? Yeah, that was our Magic Kingdom day. It was fabulous. It was so good.
All right. So next day we made it late. Like, are
Yeah.
we? So we're still trying to do a proper rope drop at Epcot the next morning.
Yeah.
So we're jumping up early. We're getting hopefully that day no bus malfunctions,
Zero
nothing
bus
like that.
malfunctions. Yep.
And so kind of hit us with the highlights.
Highlights were the fact that she tried Test Track. Even though it's a bit spookier for kids from a lens of I can't quite see what I'm getting into.
Yep.
And I can hear it and it's really loud, right? As I walk up to it. But yeah, we did a proper Epcot. I always want to say Ep drop, and I should just let myself. An Ep drop, a Epcot rope drop. Front of the line for Test Track. We did set up rider swap that we didn't end up using. Saw Soarin' over America, and I think I know why it's not as good.
Oh, tell me more because for me, it's not as good.
And the reason I think that is they don't play with transitions in the same way. The transitions are what it's all about in Soarin', right? Like elephant throws up the dirt and it becomes something else,
Yep.
right? The
Yep.
whale splashes, it becomes something else. And they just kind of change scenes in Soarin' over America. There's a couple good transitions, but it's not in the spirit of the transitions are really a part of it. So I
No,
think
that's
that's
a
what it
great
is.
point. And I hadn't noticed that so much when I wrote it the first couple of times. And I think maybe those kind of transitions make the CG a bit more palatable
Yes,
because that's my struggle is I feel
right.
like I'm watching CG for no reason other than enhancement.
Right. And like I still love this ride. Still love Soarin', super fun. But I wanted the better transition. So that's my note for Disney in the future is I do love that we're getting more versions of Soarin', but keep the good transitions. We need the good transitions. And then the rest of our highlights at Epcot were really just a lot of slower family time. We did hit Remy's with a very short 30-minute wait, which is quite short for Remy's. Later in the day, we had no lightning lanes, and it was totally fine that day. So that was nice. It didn't feel like a very peoply day at Epcot. The downside was Frozen Ever After was down almost all day.
Oh, I was going to ask because the move right after Test Track would have been Frozen, but you roll over there, she's
She's
down.
down. So we didn't even roll all the way over there. Cast members were standing kind of at the entrance to World Showcase saying Frozen's down. We're expecting a long, long time that it's down. So we went, did our things. We had, and this was probably the other highlight to name, we had a reservation that day at Acker's house, which is the last princess dining for our family that we hadn't done. So I was really excited about this. We did Cinderella's Royal Table in May, and I often have families debating between these two. So I was excited to try this one. And then we rolled up there for our reservation time. We checked in. When you check in at Acker's house, you have to wait outside, which is not
Yes.
ideal. I don't love waiting outside in the heat.
No, it's toasty. Again, Florida heat, middle
Yeah.
of the day, because that's when you're going to have your reservation. Yeah,
Yeah.
for
So
sure.
definitely recommend checking in on the app as soon as that's available, checking in with the cast members when you get there. Hang out there. Well, while we're waiting outside, we see Frozen open,
Oh, wow.
which is an interesting choice point, right? Because you see it open, it's right there, but we've already checked in. So we asked the cast member, what would happen if we were to quickly
Sure.
quickly run on this attraction that literally I'm watching them open the doors. There's obviously zero wait. And you called our table. And she said, I highly don't recommend it because once you check in for a Disney dining reservation, when you're called, you have 5 minutes.
And then now you're doing the math in your head. How long does Frozen take?
I'm like, how
Like,
long
if
does
we get
Frozen
on this
take?
thing, it's a little bit, yeah, so it's about a 7 minute ride. Yeah.
I gotta walk through the queue though. What do I do? Like, Abby's really looking forward to the princess. So we decide we're gonna skip it, but the people behind us, they decide they're gonna go for it. So they bail to try Frozen. Well, dad stays. Mom and kid bailed to go try Frozen.
Yep.
I'm
Yep.
thinking dad's thinking I'll be able to go get our table.
No, entire party.
No, entire party. So they do call them pretty much immediately after. And dad says, well, they just ran on this ride. And they say, well, you have 4 minutes and 30 seconds. And he said, uh-oh. So he calls mom. Obviously, mom is doing a thing, so she's not answering. And their table was given away. So it is just to say, when you check in, it is
You're
important.
committed.
You're committed. It's important to stay there, right? Like you're, even if something as tempting as that happens, right? once you check in, they're kind of expecting that you're available, especially when there's this wait of other families in the heat, right? Because that's the thing. There's other families standing there waiting for their table. They're not going to feel super gracious of you to just be able to pop out, do an attraction, and come back. Like, that's not going to feel great for them, right? So that's where that landed.
Yeah, and I wonder, like, if you miss a dining reservation in Disney, there is a penalty. Now,
Yeah.
with this family, they have already checked in.
Hmm.
So technically, I think they probably didn't incur the penalty, but they just didn't get to do the meal.
So I think my understanding of what happened was they were going to get to do the meal still, but not immediately.
Okay, so back of the line. So it's
I
it's
think
basically a back of
that
the line reset.
that was the vibe. And I'm not sure if they waited that out or not. I didn't see them come into the restaurant, but Acker's House has two areas, so maybe they went
Yep.
in the other side. Who knows? Um, I don't know what happened. But this is my note. You might face decisions at Disney like this, right? Where you have to actually decide these two things that were the two highlights of why we chose Epcot for our second park day on this impulsive trip. I actually need to decide between them right now. And that's okay, because that sometimes is what the universe gives you, and you got to do a thing, right? We knew we were not going to swing another Acker's House brunch. We knew there was a possibility of Frozen opening later, so that's how we made that choice. Didn't open later. We didn't get to ride it this trip, but we did enjoy our brunch. Abby loved it. There were five princesses, which I was thrilled with because I've heard reports of like 3 to 5 for this meal.
Yep.
So five felt really generous. And she loved meeting all the princesses. And she loves the cards they give out with the signatures. Those are like very special treasures to her. So that was very special too. And she would show them all their signature. Snow White, this is yours.
So now you texted me a photo of your new favorite brunch on property.
Oh, and it wasn't this one.
And it wasn't this one.
No, no, no. The food wise at this one, let's just say I understand why Cinderella's Royal Table is double the credits. Because it does feel like a totally different experience. This is like your classic Disney waffle sausage eggs. It doesn't feel like an
Okay.
upscale I'm in a castle vibe,
Yep.
you
Yep.
know?
Okay.
Was it still magical? Is it still great value for 1 credit? Absolutely, those things are true. And will I be choosing Cinderella's Royal Table if the budget can swing it? Yep. Every time. So that is
Good
what
to
it is.
know.
But that wasn't my favorite brunch either. My favorite brunch or breakfast, Ale and Compass. Man, what an incredible meal. I was shocked by how much I loved that food. And so underrated. So this was on our rest day. We had a couple highlights that day, but that was one of them. Was the Ale and Compass breakfast. They had an amazing crab Benedict. They had an avocado smoked salmon toast, and really affordable as far as Disney pricing goes. Our breakfast, where we each got, I think I got like a cappuccino, like some kind of specialty drink, and Lucas, I think, got a Bloody Mary. Our breakfast still came to about the price of our All Stars quick service dinner the night
Wow.
before. It was $10 more.
Yeah, that's a win.
Um, for crab eggs Benedict, and that I didn't finish because it was so generous. Beautiful ambiance of that space. You get to walk along the boardwalk. You get to stop at Cake Bake, maybe. I don't know. That's a thing you could do. It was just awesome. So that is definitely going up on my list. And that's one of those, it was easier to grab a reservation. So that's why we ate there.
No, and that's one that probably is not going to regularly get highlighted on
Yeah,
this podcast or any other, right? And you're definitely not going to see it on the socials,
right.
but hit big time.
Big hit. And the like food for apps was great too. Kids meal was awesome. So we really loved that spot. That definitely will be a return spot for us. And now I'm intrigued to try their dinner. Have you tried their dinner yet or their lunch?
I haven't been there at all.
Yeah.
So this is one of those that I'm thinking about upcoming trips, and I'm like, man, I'm going to have to get over there. Because
Yeah.
again, I think this one is even in the shadow of some other restaurants that are there
Yeah.
that just have more prominence.
Right. Right. I think that's true. So this is a good one if you want kind of that resort day brunch. This is a great option. And then we did something else really special. And this I'll say is probably our last highlight on this one. We went to Fort Wilderness for the pony rides.
Yeah, I got a picture on that one.
Yeah, and that was so special. So at Fort Wilderness, first of all, amazing park with swings, amazing quick service. Right as you get off the boat. So you get this experience of taking the boat over. There's stuff to do. You can go to the park. You can have lunch. You can grab they have a nice coffee shop too. Like you can grab some good lattes there. And then you can hit the barns. And what a beautiful experience, the whole thing. Have you ever been to the barn area?
I have not.
It's really fun and engaging. Like there's all the horses that they do trail rides, that they do like carriage rides, etc. And like they are huge, first of all, some of them. It's very impressive. But the cast members are the highlight there. They're telling you all about the horses, why we're feeding them this hay as opposed to this hay. They're showing Abby the different brushes as they're grooming one of the
Yeah.
horses and explaining that to her. There's interesting like facts along the walls of how horses have been used in Walt Disney World history, that type of thing. And then there's a really special experience where you can go on a pony ride if you meet certain requirements. You have to be at least 3 and you have to be under 48 inches.
Wow, so this is a narrow window of time for folks.
This is why we went pony riding now because
Yep.
grandma's allergic to ponies. So if we ever go with her, that's out if we're sharing any kind of hotel room. Um, and yeah, Abby's in the over 3, under 48 inches. Now's our window for pony rides. Super affordable. It was $15 to go 2 like big laps around. And what
Oh
I
wow, that doesn't even feel like much of a splurge. I
no,
mean, that's like, yep, I can do that.
great. Sounds good. You can even do 1 lap for $10. Um, and like they're big loops. And something that was really special that I didn't realize is you as a parent, one of the parents, get to lead the horse. So
I
yeah,
saw that and I was going to ask because the picture was with Lucas and I'm
yeah,
like, it registered with me. I'm like, really? Because that seems to be a higher level of liability for
sure.
Disney, right? So
Yeah,
it shocked me. I mean, I had that as a question for today,
yeah.
and it completely shocks me that that's the case, which does make the experience for you as the parent so much more meaningful.
So much. Like she was on cloud nine and he got to have this moment of like walking with her and doing the laps and it was just really special to like kind of be removed away from things, get to have this first pony ride experience. They did do a little tutorial with him before he went off of
Sure.
this is how we guide the pony. If you notice your child leaning, this is what we do. But I will say Dolly was our pony and Dolly knew what she was doing. She was leading Lucas. Like at the one umbrella that you stop at for photos, she just stopped. And Lucas is like, "Oh, it's here?" And the cast member's like, "Yep, like Dolly knows what's up." So also I'm
She's
not
done it a few times.
yeah, I'm not sure if Lucas was leading Dolly or Dolly was leading Lucas, but either way, they had this lovely experience together. And it was like just this really different thing to do on a resort day that was a fun like experience. Taking the ferry, doing the Explore Fort Wilderness thing, go on this pony ride. Like it felt like a full day. Go back, have a swim. Like what a good day. Yeah.
That's awesome. So you actually, interestingly enough, from a kind of just a layout of your trip, you
Yeah.
had Arrival Day, Magic Kingdom, Epcot, then Resort Day, and then you were leaving, right?
I actually had the wrong order. I had Arrival, Resort Day, which we still wanted to go to bed early. And then to park days. And we just did that because of weather forecast.
Sure.
In my ideal world, would we have divided those up? But I was nervous as someone who hasn't been to the parks in the summer because it was supposed to thunderstorm all day long on our one day there. And I thought, oh, we better not have that be our Magic Kingdom day. Just because I really want that, like to get the parades, to get the fireworks, etc. What I will say, and you said this on our last trip report too, it was supposed to rain every day, all day. Didn't. Like
No.
we hit one really good downpour on our departure day, and we were at Riviera enjoying their quick service. Not a problem, right? Um, and like I will say, bring your rain gear, have an eye on the forecast, but also just expect like maybe half an hour of a downpour and then carry on with your day, right? Like it's not as scary as it sounds typically. Is there going to be a week that's just downpours? Maybe. But typically speaking, it's not what you're expecting.
Without a doubt. I think that's what we experienced. So, we're going to end this episode, as we always do, our trip report episodes, with a rapid fire for you, Jenna.
Yay.
So, I have 5 questions. These are, only one I think is a repeat, maybe a couple,
Oh,
but we'll see.
let's
So,
hear.
I'm going to lead off with the big one first, just because I don't want it to get buried in something later. So, best Abby moment.
Seeing Tinkerbell fly. That was so special. Like she's a big Tinkerbell fan right now, and you don't get a lot of Tinkerbell moments at the parks, really. And when she saw Tinkerbell fly, it was just obviously so unexpected and so exciting for her. So that was really special. Also because we won't be
That's
doing that again anytime soon. So soak it in, girlfriend.
for sure. That's awesome. All right. Let's go with best bite.
Best bite. I'm gonna say the crab's eggs Benedict at Ale and Compass. So good. So good. Or
Yeah, that one's
at Trail's End, the toffee and chocolate chip cookie at the quick service at Fort Wilderness. Like those cookies. Incredible.
so we have sweet and
Yeah.
savory both,
Choose,
right? I'm
take your
loving it.
pick. Yeah, take your pick.
Best new family experience.
I would say this might sound kind of funny, but playing in the pool together. Like Quinn's in more of an era where she like kind of can interact a bit more and understand the game. So like dad was a shark and coming up to the girls, and Quinn was doing her little like as he was coming. So she was like understanding the concept of the game, and that was just a really fun, like we needed a week to get away and play.
Yeah,
And that's what we did. And the pool is a way to bring that play out in a really fun way for everyone.
that's awesome. Your biggest surprise of the trip.
That Lucas did not complain about a value resort nearly as much as I thought he would. Because he is a bougie deluxe dude and he accepted that, last minute impulsive trip. We were staying at All Stars Music and he made the most of every second and I loved it.
Yeah, he's like, this is where we're at. This is what we're doing, and let's just get after it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, what's that one thing that's still left to do?
Ooh, that's still left to do. Oh, there's so many things that are still left to do. But you know what? It came up more than once on this trip was staying at the Contemporary with the girls because it had occurred to us how easy midday breaks would be and the fact that Abby's old enough right now that she's like enjoying kind of the main pool. Quinn's kind of in the area where she can enjoy both a splash pad and a pool. So I'm not worried about needing the maximum pool game. And we could watch fireworks, not from the park. So
Contemporary has it. I mean, if you're thinking relationship to Magic Kingdom, it
it's
just
so
is
good.
one
Yeah.
of the best. I don't think it gets enough love in
Hmm.
comparison. It's definitely the oldest on the loop.
Yeah.
It's probably, just doesn't have the standing that a Poly
Yeah. Yeah.
or a Grand Flow does. But I will say the trip that we got to spend and being at that location and being able to just walk over to the park, whether it was in the morning or the evening,
Yeah.
coming back from another park, like all of it. It is so good that way.
The location is just unparalleled. Even those other locations on the monorail loop, like they are walkable, but they're not easy walkable.
Yep.
They're a walk at the end of the night, right? So I really just valued thinking about that and thinking that would be really fun as a family if we were doing a really Magic Kingdom heavy trip. We're gonna have to plan ahead on that one to maximize offers, but
For sure. So, for another week, this has been the Enchanted Parks and Ports podcast. Jenna, thank you so much for sharing the insights to your trip.
yeah.
It's always so great to hear what we learn, what we figure out, some of the tips around rider swaps, some of the things around dining, some things not to do. So as we learn by doing much
Yeah.
of on this podcast, thank you so much for sharing. For our listeners, if you love the content we're putting out, make sure to subscribe. Make sure to give us a 5-star Apple podcast review. We'll read it on air. And so, Jenna, for another week, let's remind our listeners.
Adventure is out there. Bye, friends.